Welcome to the Latin Wealth Podcast, a podcast dedicated to educating the Latino community about entrepreneurship, investing, and business.
Yo, what's going on, Latin Wealth family? Welcome to another episode to Wealth Wednesday. Hopefully you guys are blessed and well. We're doing pretty good because we're back in the studio as we teased from last week. If you guys didn't get the chance to listen to last week's episode, it was a solo episode and we went over 13 characteristics of successful Latinos that we've studied, that we've been around, people that we've interviewed. We combined a list of 13 different traits. All right. So go ahead and check out that episode. But today, I did say that we were going to be in the studio. Got my guy, Jeremiah Ramirez today, a.k.a. the Financial Plug. How you feeling, bro?
Back in town. Happy to be back in Dallas to meet with my guy, man. It's always a vibe every time we link up. So that's the... Absolutely.
So look, today we wanted to hit on, if you hit on the this video and you've seen the title and the thumbnail and all that, the American Dream. We want to talk about the American Dream, and is this dream still real for Latinos out there? I know we've had plenty of conversations about this American Dream conversation, and you are literally in the midst. Probably by the time this episode comes out, you'll may be back on the island.
I believe so.
I've spoken to a couple different Latinos. One of them who was on the podcast. Shout out to Paul Alex. He was living in Florida, and he literally just moved to PR as well with his wife. Literally just moved out there. So people are making that transition. People are making that move, and whether it's for business purpose, whether it's for self-fulfillment, or whatever the case may be, I think people are starting to wake up when it comes to this idea of the American Dream. It's funny. My mom was just out here and I was showing her around Texas, showing her the different homes and whatnot, and passing by neighborhoods, and she's like, a lot of these neighborhoods kind of look the same in certain areas and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good old American home, white picket fence.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly what you thought. The assimilation of the thought.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And we agree those probably wouldn't be for us, but nonetheless. I want to have this conversation. Before I pull you in here, a survey said that 71% of Latinos believe in the American Dream, yet 82% of them feel their children will not have the same opportunities they did. All right. Well, I'll get you in here right now. I have some other statistics I want to hit on, but what are your thoughts about this?
It depends on what generation that is that was having that conversation or that was being polled, because, we could look at Generation X, right? And that's probably true because I'm a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're a millennial too, right? So, we could look at and see who we're polling. But I think no matter how it goes now, if you look at Gen Z or I think it's Alpha, that next group, it'll be different. And the reason for that is the dollar is weaker. The housing market is inflated. I think right now they're currently, right now today as we're recording, they're having a post 100 days review, which is, I looked at some numbers yesterday, and it's the worst first 100 days, I think, within the past 20, 25 years, something like that, or maybe more than that.
What goes into, I don't want you to lose track, but what goes into that number of the worst?
It was just, this particular number, they were looking at the stock market.
Got you.
And obviously the market is a good indicator, and a lot of people don't understand the market is a good indicator to that American Dream, because these are the companies that are part of the quote unquote American Dream, right? That's helping to build the American, or it's manufacturing, homes. There's a lot of real estate companies that are actually have public stock. They're publicly traded. And so the market is a good indication of how well is this American Dream, how well is it faring? And so I agree with that statement. I don't think my kids will be, they won't have the same opportunity. I grew up in the 90s, and then obviously early 2000s, I'm old enough to make decisions. And at that time, it's a very revolutionary time. And if you did things the right way, obviously could change the world. Millennials, Facebook, right? Sure. Instagram, all these various things, social media, even in the fintech world and financially. So I don't know if they'll still have those same opportunities. And then the last thing that people won't really think about, when your children are grown, America won't be the number one country in the world.
That's a fact.
So it'll be different. And they're like, I mean, we've talked about that, like the debate of whether, that's not a debate anymore. I think it's obvious that China's going to take over that position. So it'll be different. We'll have to see how America's kind of adjust to being number 2 or 3, depending on where things fall. So
yeah, and I think the conversation that we've had multiple times is like, we believe that more people should have more of a receptive and open mind.
Yes.
Right, to something new.
Yes.
Right, a fresh start.
Sure.
Or just being able to almost keep up with time as time's changing. You may want to consider changing some things in your own life, right? We know people that have lived in the same city their whole life, or never traveled outside of whatever state.
The state that they lived in.
Right. So, man, and the reason why we bring this up is we don't believe that necessarily you have to leave America.
No.
But maybe the American dream that was taught to us could be different, right? Maybe it's not owning a home and having 2 dogs and 2 cars. Maybe it's just you living in an apartment building. I don't know.
So
whatever that is. But I think, honing in on like what makes you happy, what fulfills you, should be a priority.
I feel like that's going to be different too culturally. For Latinos, we're extremely family based versus, and what I mean by that is that's Latinos that are here in America and Latinos that are obviously immigrating from other countries, as the Latin American countries, and so we're very family oriented in a society in America that's not the basis, right? It's me. So that it's adapting to that, and then also understanding how you having that relation to your family, either it's going to hurt or help you. Are you teaching your family appropriately how to obtain that American dream? Are you keeping them informed as to how that American dream is shifted? Or is everyone out here still trying to buy real estate? And that's and I say that like kind of in jest, right? But it's true. Like, I mean, you talk to anybody that's 50 or older, that's all they talk about. It's purchase property. And I get it. Like for Gen Z, that's all they knew, but like that's not real anymore. And I think the realization that it's not real it's hard to grasp sometimes, but this is a factual statement. It's a piece of what you need to do, but it won't get you there completely. For sure. Right? And so are you updating your family? Are you keeping them up to date as to what? And that has to fall on someone. Someone has to be the responsible party.
And so a couple things there. Next week, we're definitely going to hit on real estate in the Latino community. So that's dope that you brought that up. And it's funny, you're right. When it comes to Gen Zs and even baby boomers, if there's, especially my grandparents, if there's 2 things that can make them happy, is number 1, buying a home, and number 2, if you make it on the news. And the reason why I say that is because
in a good way.
In a good way. Not the other day, but when that whole Luka trade happened, I was running and the news reporter got me on the news, and they swore that was like the biggest accomplishment I ever did in my life, being on the news.
And I know what you've accomplished, so I'm just sitting there like.
But it goes back to their way of thinking of like, when they see you on TV, they think you make it, and when they see you buying a home, they also think you made it. Yeah. Right. So let me break down some of these numbers. A survey asked Latinos what the American dreams mean to them in a word, and these are the top line results that we received. So 18% of Latinos said freedom, 18% of Latinos said financial security, 17% said owning a home is a part of the American dream, 15% thought a family when asked about their American dream, 15% of Latinos mentioned good paying jobs were a part of their American dream. When I seen these numbers, I'm like, this is just my opinion. This could be done in a different country.
It can be done anywhere.
It can be done anywhere.
I think that they're giving from a point of reference of where they came from.
Right.
And also the majority of us, I mean, not to be like that, there are some of us obviously that are well off and we do really well. We have lots of money and we move wherever we choose. But the majority of people that immigrated to this country, they came for the under the premise of opportunity. And so they felt they didn't have that opportunity in the country they came from. And so that's their mindset. Their perception is that America provides that opportunity. When in reality, that opportunity is in the country they came from. That opportunity is in Puerto Rico. That opportunity is in Germany. It doesn't, I mean, you know, if you're going to do business and if you're business savvy, you're a good business person, you could do business anywhere. You'll come up with whatever it is that you have, whatever that offer is, whatever that service, whatever that solution is, and it's going to make money anywhere. So
100%. I seen this video by, I think it's called, the YouTube channel is called NBC Business, and they basically interview people that have a successful business or a unique business. And this individual, he went to go study abroad in India, and he started a Mexican restaurant in India, and it's pulling in like $40 million a year. They got over 100 different locations in India.
It reminds me of the Netflix show Mo.
Yeah,
it's based out of Houston, so it has it's a Palestinian brother that's based in Houston, but he got trapped in Mexico, and in Mexico he starts making falafel tacos. So he's like basically infusion, right? Palestinian culture with it, and he was making a bunch of money. That just made me think about that, because that's, no matter where you're at, you can make money.
Yeah. And like I said, I told you this before my grandfather passed away. Like, his dream was to move back to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
So it's there. You know,
you got to complete that dream, man.
100%.
I mean, money's there. I mean, the island is beautiful, but there's so many opportunities in Puerto Rico, and the things that align for people to obviously go back to the island, and any Latin, no matter where they're from, there's opportunities in your country. You could come here and maybe you build and you create, or however, whatever. But to me, the dream should always be going back to your country and enriching the country that you came from.
I like that. I have a question about that. What are your thoughts about Latinos not necessarily going back home, but going to a different country?
I mean, it's fine as if any aspect of another Latin American country, or just like a different country.
Let's say Latin American country.
Venezuelans are probably going to go back to Colombia.
Yeah.
That makes sense, right? And so obviously, given Venezuela, we kind of had a hand in that, but given Venezuela being the way that it is, I get that. That makes sense. Yeah.
Couple more statistics. 49% of Latinos say they are worse off today than they were 4 years ago. 41% of Latinos say inflation is amongst the top two issues most important to them.
Sure.
And the economy and jobs are a close second, with 34% of Latinos listing it as one of their top two concerns.
And that's because the majority of the things we do, we're just now breaking. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, which was us breaking into the professional realm of industries and work, right? So we're just breaking into that, and we're doing extremely well. Year over year, our numbers were dramatically different than everyone else, right? So that's great. But we're just not breaking into that. And so the majority of the stuff that we have been doing is service-based. Those service-based industries are directly connected to tariffs, directly connected to a lot of different things that are, that economic or that political kind of button can switch things very quickly. So it makes sense that they would say, "Hey, I'm not in the best place right now as I was 4 years ago," and that's either party. It's both parties,
At what age did you realize the American dream that was maybe taught to you or spoken about in your home wasn't exactly what you wanted for you and your family?
So in my home, that was never pushed. I was allowed to, on my own, figure out what the American dream was, but I was a very perceptive child. So from young, I knew that things are different for different type of people. I would see certain people and see they live better than we live, and I would see people that look like me and live in the same, so I was kind of introspective and trying to see what differences did they have other than the obvious, right, that I didn't have. And what I figured out was that it was a mentality. Their mentality was different. So a lot of the thought process that we have as Latinos is an impoverished mentality. We think very scarcity minded. Everything is take what I can get now. And so it's very scarcity minded versus having an abundant mindset that says that there's opportunities in everything.
Yeah, anything can happen.
So I think at a young age I realized that, and that's just seeing different people and seeing different things. But I also saw that the dream, quote unquote, right, that kind of died like mid-90s. Differences started happening, and then you really saw it in 2008. That's when you realized that whole propaganda that they were kind of holding up, that wasn't real.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think probably when I was 19, maybe 18, I realized like certain things people would try to push on you, and I was like, no, this ain't for me. Like, that's beautiful, that's great, but that ain't for me.
Yeah.
That doesn't fulfill me in any type of way.
But if you don't do this, then you aren't this. And it's like,
right.
I'm not trying to be that though. That's the whole thing. I'm just, like you said, I'm trying to live out, my journey. I'm trying to walk my journey. And my journey says that I rent several houses. I may own a couple, but I rent them and I don't live in the house. And maybe I just rent because that's more money for me at any given moment. If I feel like I want to move to Japan, I want to move to China, I want to move wherever I want to move, I can do so. And I have nothing that holds me back, right? It's funny you say that, because what's the thing that comes up and they always say like, hey, you're paying somebody else's mortgage. Well, I mean, when you go shop for Gucci, when you go buy Jordans, when you go buy that belt, when you go shop in the grocery store, you're paying somebody's mortgage and rent.
You're paying,
and everything that you do as a consumer, you're paying. So
you're paying somebody's last name.
Yeah, I don't. So I hear people when they say
grocery stores, if it's a name, it's probably
somebody's family. Yeah, so
family.
People say that, and I'm just like, so do you, and you do it in multiple different ways. It's almost like a superiority type thing. Well, I own this house, so it makes but it doesn't, because I mean, with what we just seen numbers wise, we've seen a lot of different pieces of the American dream that have just kind of faltered. But people have created something new, and you say, well, now you just adapt.
Yeah,
make it whatever you think it's supposed to be.
It's funny because the young lady we had on about 2 weeks ago, Joanne from the UK, she,
that was a crazy episode.
Briefly, I'd love to know your thoughts about that. She briefly mentioned not believing in buying a home and a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking more offline, but she was like, yeah, she feels like having a mortgage in the UK is a trap.
It's no different here.
Yeah.
It's no different here. It's, it's the bank's greatest, it's their greatest product ever. And it's the greatest propaganda that's ever been put into the minds of the American people. And they could say it isn't, or however, whatever, but the numbers show differently. And that's the banks. I mean, that's what they make the most money off of, right? It's mortgages, lending. So I would agree with her 100%. You don't have to own anything. I mean, it's great to own in the aspect of an investment. Now, we're talking different when we're saying residential versus investment. That's the
big difference. Again, we'll get more into the real estate, but that is a huge difference that I want to get into
for sure
next week. But what would you advise to people out there that are maybe in this feeling of like, yo, I think I've hit the ceiling where I'm at. I want something different, new. This isn't what it was all propped up to be. What would you advise to them as someone that's literally going to be back home in a couple weeks?
Assess your expenses. Assess the things that you're spending money on, where it needs, like, do you absolutely need it? Is it absolutely needed, or is it just a luxury and you're just being frivolous with your spending? Because as you sit down and you draw everything out, if you're trying to make a major move, you'll need to cut back or sacrifice things to a certain degree to try to build up probably a nest egg. And then the second thing is where you're living and what you're doing currently, do you have to be at that place? Is it mandatory that you live in that place to conduct your business or to do your lifestyle the way that it is? What would that lifestyle look like somewhere else? And if you can look at those two things, there's some other, but those two things are the main thing.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is, look, and I want to be mindful of everybody's circumstance, and people got kids, and,
for sure.
I realize like I'm blessed. We're blessed in the sense like I'm married to my wife. If we wanted to get up and go to Canada right now, we can do that, right? We feel empowered to do that. And I think some people like that will have like a list of excuses of why they can't, right? And I'm like, I get it. I'm pretty sure it's challenging, but then I'm like, but is it really?
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Because those are the same people that have excuses why their life is the way that it is in America.
Mm.
So it isn't that, overly whatever excuses that they're mentioning or that they're stating that they're real. They're just excuses. I mean, you're either going to make the decision that something needs to change for you to have better for you and your family, or you won't.
Mm.
You can always stay. I mean, if in order for things to be better, you got to do something you've never done, right? So you have to actually do that.
It's going to be uncomfortable.
It will be.
Very
That's growth.
uncomfortable.
Growth is always uncomfortable.
Mm. Last question for you. In this process of moving back to Puerto Rico, is there any, and I get it, you're going back home, you're feeling great, amazing, the beach and all of that, but is there any uncomfortableness, if that's the word, challenges in this process?
The challenge is the stability of, honestly, the power grid.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I do obviously requires power, requires internet,
Mm-hmm.
requires, right? So it's making sure that the generators are where they need to be and those type of things. But we talked about this a while back, but I'm highly focusing on being a component of change in that aspect as well. So that's been the biggest, like, man, will I be out without power for 3 or 4 days? Like, but you got to make changes, and you have to do things and align with people that are making those changes to try to make those changes. So I'd rather go back and be a part of the change than that piece of, discomfort preventing me from being there.
Yeah, we might be recording an episode in the dark.
We'll get some lights. We'll make it.
With the phone.
We'll make it. We'll make it work.
We're gonna make it work. Look, we like to have these types of conversation, as these conversations just like open our minds to different realities, different scenarios in life, and I think these are healthy conversations to have with the people around you. If you're not having these types of conversation, you can probably think about auditing your circle and see who you can pull in, or who can you listen to that will help you propel you into a different light. So these are the conversations that we have weekly. So we wanted to have this discussions. Let us know your thoughts down below in the comments. And as always, the Latin Wealth family, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Peace, guys.